Late last year, a close friend of mine decided to make 31 digital paintings in 31 days throughout the month of October. This tradition is generally known as Inktober, but more and more people are straying away from that term for good reasons. Near the end of the month, we were chatting on Discord, and I mentioned that I was impressed with his persistency. I had actually tried Inktober twice, but I failed both times. He made a joke saying I would probably have better success at making daily games instead of daily digital art, and even though it was just a joke, I took that idea and ran with it. At first, I was planning on making 31 separate games throughout the month of December and calling it a day, but since then, the idea has turned into a full interconnected project. You might have already seen the trailer that I uploaded, but it's called The December Effect, and it's a work of interactive fiction releasing on both Steam and itch.io on March 3rd of this year. The planned price is $5.99 USD. Since the game is story-driven and the novelty of the individual games is a huge draw, I don't really want to spoil too much in this video, but that being said, I'll try to talk about the development experience instead of the game itself. During the process, I decided to take a month-long break from public Discord servers and multiplayer video games. Historically, these two activities have been somewhat distracting for me, so cutting them out of my day allowed me to remain focused. I made an alt Discord account and friended a very small number of people to keep me accountable. And sane. Going a month without these two things was honestly easier than I thought it would be. One thing you'll need to know about me is that I'm an extreme workaholic. Productive activities are often more enjoyable for me than my other hobbies. Cutting out public Discord servers and multiplayer video games gave me more time to work, but it also gave me more time to do other things I enjoy, like going on walks and reading. Making an entire game in one day isn't only programming, it's a whole triathlon. I also did the art and the music for the games. While the meat and potatoes for each game were made in one day, I didn't limit myself to just that day. Since I'm selling these as part of a collection, I decided that I should definitely fix bugs and make tweaks as I saw fit. A few of the games received overhauls or other major changes after the month was over to keep them on par with the rest. And as this video is being written, I'm still making small changes to the games whenever I feel like they need it. It's hard to explain what makes the game so special without showing examples, so I'm going to spend the rest of this video showcasing 3 of my favorites. The 3 that I picked aren't story related, so I wouldn't worry too much about spoilers unless you really want to experience the game blind. If that's the case, I put a link to the Steam page in the description, so if you're interested, you can go add it to your wishlist. Without further ado, here they are. So this game is Toy With It. It has 5 levels, and the goal is to get as many army men as you can to the finish by clicking on these blocks to remove and then add them back. It's a Lemmings-like, so if you've ever heard of the game Lemmings, it's heavily inspired off of how that game works. And it gets a little harder as it goes on, but it doesn't get too insane. If I were to add to this game in the future, I would definitely add something that made the army men go upwards, because the fact that the army men can only go downwards with the current mechanics in the game, I feel like severely limits the amount of levels that I can make. But it's still cool though, because there's a bunch of different possibilities, even with how bare bones the game is at its current state. This second one is called Punch Dude, and it's an idle clicker. It's sort of like, cookie clicker, where you just punch the dude by clicking on him, and when you reach a certain number of punches, you can get stuff like the boxing glove, which increases your click value. So now when I punch, I'm dealing 2 punches instead of 1. And I can also buy these flying fists, which help me out by doing like automatic punches. So you see PPS right here, which stands for punches per second. Definitely one of the weirder ideas. It's a pretty interesting idea for an idle game for sure. And there's also some minor like visual changes. So like as I buy flying fists, you can see it. You can see them like circle the dude. So the last one I wanted to show is called Ocean Floor, and it is a turn-based RPG. You'll notice that all 3 of the games I picked are mouse only, but there are definitely some games that require you to use the keyboard. This game makes you choose which move to use with your characters that you have. You have Delta, Oscar, and Myrtle. And then with those moves, some of them are targeted moves. For instance, Inject is a targeted move, so I can choose which enemy to target. But I'm not actually targeting the enemy, I'm actually targeting the slot. So an interesting mechanic with Ocean Floor is that the slot that your characters are in and the slot that the enemies are in constantly changes. So you have to, based on turn priority, you have to constantly know like what order the moves will happen in, because it definitely matters. So I will go ahead and use After You for Delta, which puts Delta, if you can see it down here at the bottom of the screen, it heals Delta, which I don't actually need, but it also swaps Delta's position with the back ally, which would be Myrtle. And how turn priority works, I know this is a lot, but like all of this is necessary, I feel like, to understand the game. But if you're not catching my drift, that's okay. You can just watch it happen once I cool. And then Myrtle will be shocked for 2 turns, which is a little annoying, but that should be okay. So, okay, anyways, this entire game takes a bit longer than the others that I showed to complete, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end it here. Like I said, in the video portion of this video, the scripted portion of this video, the link to the Steam page is in the description. So if this looks like something that would interest you, especially the narrative aspect, because I've been a little hesitant to show that yet, then definitely go to the Steam page, watch the trailer if you haven't already, and add it to your wishlist if it looks interesting to you. That'll do it. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you have an above average day. Goodbye.